I'm sitting here with Drew Williams. This is Drew Jenkinson, aka Drewby, and we are sitting here the day before the release of Losing My Mind, a special collaboration that started. Man, I think the first iteration started in late 2019. If I go
Yes,
back in my
yeah.
records,
It was
s-
it was like November or December of 2019 where we linked up. We're like, dude, we really want to work on something together. We should totally, just, hang out and see, what we can come up with. And then COVID happened.
yeah. So I,
you
I
know.
remember you came over to my townhouse that I was living in at the time, and I think I all I had was this like the basic beat, a little bit of bass, like the typical bass sound that's there, which has evolved over time. But and then just the no pressure, no diamonds, stay foolish, stay sane. My life is a message. Do you feel the same? And that was it.
Yeah, it was really, and I was inspired by your message of when everything goes left, go right. And I think that that is the storyboard of what happens with mental health, right? It's like we're constantly on this tug of war with our emotions, with our thoughts, with our ambitions and all those kind of things. And even like when I first started it off, I was like depression and joy playing minds like a toy. It's like you have these moments of pure highs, and then you also have these moments of pure lows. And I think with that song we did a great job of really talking about the extremes of mental health, and not just everything is sunshine and rainbows, and then next thing you know it's thunderstorms. Like there's a mix in between. And I just really love how I remember vividly, like when we were putting the lyrics together, we kind of compared it to like a tornado.
Right.
Like we were talking about, I was telling you about the movie I had watched After the Storm, where you had a scene in there where there's this storm chaser, and his dream was like, I gotta get inside the eye of a tornado. And when you think about what a tornado looks like from the outside, it's all destruction. It's like darkness. It pulls all debris from everywhere into this one funnel. But then when you go into the eye, whether that's a tornado or a hurricane, it's always calm in
Yeah.
the center. And I love how we blended that in there too with the bridge of the song. I don't want to get too deep into it just now, but yeah, man, it was cool just to have that conversation about our own journeys, and then to see how we could put it together into this record. So and I think that's been like the special thing about songwriting over these past couple of years for me, is just really taking the stories that either I've gone through or my friends have gone through, and then putting it in the song.
I remember when we were first recording it, we that whole idea of the tornado or being in the eye of the storm, that I think is where we really touched something. We knew we had something special when we hit that bridge, and we really just had sort of this calming, expansive bridge that felt like it was right there in the eye of the storm. And it's that moment of clarity, that moment where you're above the clouds, like in the Matrix, where they, come out of the big torrent of machines and they like see the sun for the first time. And we had that, and it felt like holy. It felt religious almost. And that made something clicked there where I felt like we had achieved almost in parallel the same thing with the progress of that song, where we're like, wow, we've really climaxed here to something special. We go from my little like sung out lyrics to your hard hitting the raps with like really deep language and lyrics, and then it just pulls you out into this beautiful ethereal feeling, and then pulls you right back down to reality. And so
Which is the whole story. Like it's that is the whole in and out of mental health, right? It's like we go through hell sometimes, and it can happen with just any trigger. There's no Depression has no like warning sign. It has no notifications to say, hey, I am going to wreck your life on Tuesday, but I'll be gone by Thursday. It's fine. There's no warning with this. And it's just learning how to navigate that. And then you have these moments where it's just pure clarity,
Right.
even in the midst of all that drama, where you're just, like we say, head in the clouds. Like, man, okay, this is what feeling good feels like. And if I'm just going to relish this as much as I can, and I hope I get to see this again before I go right back down into the turmoil. And I love that we ended it like that versus like this quote unquote happy ending,
Right.
because we know that it's not like that. We know mental health is not like that. We know it's these constant ebbs and flows.
I think there's also a great message, which, it can be lost on the ear a little bit, but it's the lyric is actually losing my mind, loosened my mind. And that's about, going through the mental health is also that journey itself can open your mind up to seeing different things, seeing different ways, exploring different perspectives, and also respecting that journey in others.
My goal was to really internalize what that struggle was. And I knew, just even based on the things that I had been going through just in a lot of my life, that I knew a lot of people had been going through it. Like, for example, like when I said losing and using ever since I was a
Yep.
boy, that could mean anything for anybody, because we know depression can come in the form of, you know, like physical abuse or drug abuse, or
Yep. Substance
even like,
abuse.
my issue was always food. Like I'm an emotional eater. And
Yeah.
so when I say losing and using, what I was saying from that was, every time that I would face some kind of defeat, whether it was some form of rejection, my immediate go-to was like, I'm gonna stuff my face with something that gives me immediate comfort. But then it just puts you in this proverbial cycle every single time. And I know I'm not the only one who has dealt with that, and that's a real issue. And I really wanted to bring light to that in the song. We have all this stuff going on in our lives, and yet we still have to put on a face of looking sane,
Right.
even when we're still going through all the drama and the things that we're fighting through day after day. So hopefully, like I said, people will really hear that and really resonate with that. Especially when you said the whole thing, like losing my mind, loosened my mind. Like when, I have that one line, reach down in my core when my mental health was poor. Now I'm living with the vision and repairing what was torn. Like
One of my favorite lines.
and
Yep.
it was, and it's so funny, man, how lines like that come out. Like, I know you feel that when you write your songs. Like, you're
Sometimes
just
it just
like, man, where is this coming
comes out
from?
of thin air, man, and just comes to you. It's like you're just a filter for those words coming to you.
And I remember when we first met up to, because obviously we worked on this song extensively over the course of
Oh,
like
man.
a year and some change, just to get it where we wanted it to. But I remember writing that second rap in my car while I was waiting for my grandmother to get out of her doctor's appointment.
Wow. Wow.
And I was just kind of sitting in the car, like sitting with the song. I think we had already had like the first half of the song was done.
Yeah.
And, I was like, man, okay, like this is what I'm feeling with this. And, it's like, the calm above the storm. And then like, we got to go right back into it, because that's what life is. And it's just kind of crazy how those moments come to you.
I think the recording process was almost in parallel to the song a bit. Like we were struggling, we were going back and forth with all these. I mean, I must have sent you, well, I don't know, 15 different versions of this song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Over the years, playing with different bass styles. We even had a point where I was singing a new verse in there. But ultimately, man, like we all that back and forth, I think it really just rounded out to such a beautiful storyline with all the necessary parts without any of the fluff. And also, COVID hit right. I think we had just gotten the bridge done.
Yep.
I have a mix in my computer at 2/19/2020, and then March 2020, It was like, you know, so then at that point we started doing like virtual. You'd record tracks from your home and send them to
Yep.
me. We weren't in the same room anymore. And then like we're dealing with the mental health issues of COVID and all that, you know, the isolation and all that. So I think this song just a labor of love, a labor of the extreme situations of the world, and no better time to release it than this tomorrow, April 29th, which we're going to be kicking off Mental Health Awareness Month here in May.
Yeah, and isn't it funny how it works out like that? Like it's
Yeah.
just so wild. Like we didn't have that plan when we
Nope.
first wrote the song. It wasn't like, yeah, we're gonna, we're just gonna come out like right here at this time. And it just so happened, like when we got everything together and looked at the dates, and it was like, wait a minute, this is
Yeah.
right here at this
Yeah.
time, and it couldn't be more crucial because, I think the pandemic broke a lot of people,
Yeah.
and in a good way. I don't want to say it was all bad, but there were some necessary things that needed to happen during the pandemic where it's like the whole thing is like you get broken down to get built back up,
Right.
and you just you become a new person, and I think every time, especially with mental health, there's something new that we figure out about ourselves along the way, and going through that. And we also kind of, it does help us to build a thicker skin, but then it also helps us to be more aware of what our emotions are and the emotions of people around us, so that we
Totally.
can be more concerned and attentive humans. I think that that's why this whole issue of mental health is so important, because we're seeing people either take it out in ways that are destructive, or we're hearing all these stories like they needed a friend, like they needed somebody to check in on them, and these people were loners or whatever the case may be. And so I think it's so important for us as artists to have material like this, that when somebody's feeling in a bad way, rather than doing something externally, they can just put on this song and like kind of listen to themselves like, yeah, I'm dealing with all this. Okay, this is going to help me get a little more level headed when life gets crazy.
Absolutely. Like you said, I hope this song provides comfort to people, or even just it's almost like a friend. You know, I think a lot of people will be able to see their own situation in it. And I highly suggest just, putting on your headphones, cranking it up, and just closing your eyes and riding that song out, because it is really a journey. If you give it the time, the 3.5 minutes to just ride that ride, I think people will really resonate with it.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly. It's like it's more so a friend than say like a therapist,
Right.
you know? Um because it's like there's certain things that a friend can do that a therapist can't, and vice versa. There's certain things a therapist can do that a friend can't. So hopefully this song is sort of a middle ground of the two. Again, it's like to let people know, like, yeah, times may be rough and there's a lot of baggage to unpack, but there is there is a moment of freedom, there is a moment of clarity, there is a moment of realization that I can get through this, that I can overcome these obstacles, and just know that it's an ebb and flow too. Also being realistic about that, like just knowing like bad times don't last forever, good times don't last forever. So it's like I said, just being real about that journey, but yet still being optimistic when things are not ideal. And so, with Mental Health Awareness Month, it's just crucial in times like this that, we let people know that they're not alone in what they think. There's somebody else out there going through a very similar situation, and that, it is manageable.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, Jerome, man, I love you so much, brother. This is a truly a an honor to be on this track with you and to be able to collaborate with you on this. I'm so happy with how it came out, and I'm excited for people to finally hear it after all these years.
So I love you too, brother. I really do appreciate, man, just, being on this record with you. And I really hope it resonates with a lot of people.
Free my mind. There's no coming down. When the world makes me blind. Over the edge, take the meds to bring me back down. To see all the splendor. To bring me back down. When the pain makes me wonder, what wounds will you mend? There's no space for this. And who can I depend? What blessings will you send? I've had a taste of it. Will this ever end? Oh, head in the clouds. What else is there to say? In this, in this I pray.